Yeah, good morning. We are interacting more and more with AI applications during our work life and during our daily life. And for some applications, we're very much aware that this is AI. So when we are chatting with ChatGPT or in the corporate setup with Microsoft Copilot, we know it's an AI that is replying. For some other applications, we are not aware that it's AI. So as an example, when we are passing the street and an AI is now deciding if to switch the traffic light or not, then we are not so much aware that this is really AI. So for the Germans among us, this most likely will not happen very soon in Germany. That's more an application that we already can see in other countries. And among these applications where the AI is more invisible, there are also differences. So as an example, when we go to Spotify, we get a new recommendation for a song, then we sometimes get the notification, okay, there are people who liked also other songs, or other fan bases also like this one, or the vibe of the song is very similar. So although we are not really understanding what's the AI model behind it, we get a glimpse of what it's doing. Then there are some other invisible applications where it's also not really clear what the AI model is doing. As an example, LinkedIn, the social media feed. I don't know how it's about you, but I really don't know how it's working. And sometimes I'm really puzzled. Why do I get some of the posts shown and some of the other posts I don't get shown? And sometimes this also concerns me a bit, I have to admit. But what all the solutions have in common, they have a similar or even the same AI technology, but the user experience is completely different. So now we want to analyze today together, what does it mean to have a good experience when interacting with AI? Two applications that actually do a very good job is Claude Code and also Salesforce Einstein. But they came to that point in a completely different path. So I think we all know Claude Code, the interactive code generation tool. It's LLM native, so it's made to be interactive. It's made to be conversational and to interact with humans. And still, we also have some questions. So we want to understand why did Claude Code now change this code or change half of the code base? And how did you fix this problem? So we need to understand what it's really doing. Salesforce Einstein is a CRM tool. I think everyone knows Salesforce. So analyzing customer data to do some next best actions for sales activities, or also generating some CRM insights. So Einstein was now the AI layer that they put on top. And what do they want to know? What do the customers and the users of this application know? They want to know, why should I offer this specific next product? Why is this customer churning? So very context specific. And we see for Salesforce Einstein that it really had an evolution. So it started in 2018 when there was still the traditional machine learning. They actually have a very vast amount of training data, a huge amount of users. And in 2024, they added the conversational layer on top. So they added a conversational AI assistant. And we see also here the questions that I mentioned before, they stay the same. It doesn't matter if it's traditional machine learning or if it's now the conversational AI. What shifted between 2018, which is in AI times almost ancient times, and now is the human shift. So while in the past we focused more on our model performance, we want to know the model accuracy, latency, throughput. We just heard we need to cover edge cases. Maybe there's also some A/B testing, although for a development team it's not really clear if you are covering these A/B tests if you are, as an example, only providing the API. But what we now need to do is we need to put ourselves into the shoes of the user. So how did the AI come to this decision, as an example? So we already know all about the AI explanations, but really the user maybe also needs to justify the decision to someone else, to the boss, to other stakeholders. How do I override it? And here we all know about shadow AI. So workers may be using AI that is not approved by the company, but maybe also by the users. They're just ignoring AI. Why is this the case? Then also domain knowledge. Users will not accept an AI recommendation if it's completely off from what they know from their domain, if it's maybe not speaking the same language. And of course, we also have legal aspects and ethical aspects in terms of in Europe, the EU AI Act, GDPR. Is this really legal? And also, is it fair? Are we discriminating some of our customers? So there's a shift from asking ourselves how accurate is our AI towards how will humans work with this AI in production? So now, coming back to our examples from Einstein and Claude Code, how do they differ with regards to the human-centric design? Because we know it's completely different applications. And before we are jumping into this, I would like to take a step back and think about AI solutions in general, because when we're designing an AI application, we want to understand the business problem, we're understanding the data, we ask for the main prediction variables or for the main outcomes, but we do not really think about how is the final AI output really used by our users, by our customers and our stakeholders. So I came up with a grouping of 5 different patterns of human AI interaction. The first one is conversational. So we have a question towards the AI. We're asking for some feedback, for some tasks to be performed, and the AI is coming back to us. I think we already mentioned the example of ChatGPT. We want feedback. We just do not want to write something and don't get any information or just the plain answer. We want to have some feedback. So this is the human need that needs to be fulfilled. Then there's decision support. So the AI is suggesting, it's giving a prediction, a forecast, an actionable insight. And in the end, the human decides. The human is validating, is reviewing the value. So what we need here is we need some explainability. Then there's automation, so maybe some repetitive tasks, some administrative tasks that can be solved with AI. So I'm not mentioning the pure automation or digitalization here. But in the end, it's kind of handed over to the AI, and the human only intervenes if something is really off, really wrong. So the human has a veto. So when you're aware of the concept of human in the loop and human on the loop, this would be the human on the loop. So here the human just needs control. Then we have the reviewing part of the AI. So the AI is flagging some pictures, some other information, and the human judges. So this is very common for some medical diagnosis of images. So we want the doctor in the end to check it again. It just shouldn't be automated with AI. So here we need explainability, we need control, and we need safety. And in the end, we have the co-creative AI solutions. So it's not that we are only interacting or having a conversation. We want the AI to create something, to generate something new, some text, some images, videos, or code in the Claude Code example. So we have these 5 patterns, and we know for our examples, I also just said it already, Claude Code is more in the co-creative category. And Salesforce Einstein actually moved or combined 2 different categories. It started from a pure decision support. So this customer is churning with a X% likelihood towards a more conversational AI. But these 5 patterns, when thinking about it, determine a lot of things also regarding our metrics that we answered or that we looked at before, because it determines the touch points that the human has with the AI. But it also determines the evaluation metrics. So what do we really need to measure? And that's always different depending on the solution. So for Claude Code, we have some context setting. So we are basically briefing the AI. We have a touch point before the execution and after the execution. And I will get a bit deeper into it in a second. What are the evaluation metrics? Okay, pure acceptance rate. Is the answer from Claude Code accepted at all? But also, how many iterations do you need? Do you need to modify a lot, think a lot about what's actually happened here? For Salesforce, we have, if we are thinking about this decision support, we have a touch point after the prediction was calculated or given to the user. Then there is maybe a feedback loop, not in every application. And then there's the decision moment. The human decides, okay, I believe this, maybe I can even confirm it, I send something out to the customer. And when we are now, and that's highlighted here in red, also have the conversational AI, there are some iterations. I want some background explanations, some other context that is set. And also here, this determines the evaluation metrics. Are there users that trust everything that the AI gives to the user? Is there may be a problem with trust, so nothing is accepted? Also, how many users are really reading the explanation? So again, the question, do they just accept it or not? And when we're talking about the conversational AI, did the user eventually get what they needed and what they wanted? Or do they just give up and say, okay, I do my own stuff, I know it better, I'm the domain expert? So here we see, we need to think in patterns. The patterns are also deciding the human touch points, and the human touch points, again, decide the metrics, which we need to add to the more traditional model metrics that we had before, in the best case. So now coming back to our examples, how does Claude Code account for human AI interactions? I already said before, there's some context files. In the Claude Markdown, you can just add the context. You can talk about your coding conventions, give it some style guide information, even describe the project setup, the role it should take, how it should act. And it's like briefing a colleague. You do it once. In the best case, the person remembers. So also Claude Code is reloading it every time at the start. What are the human needs that are covered by this is that the human teachers, the project context, and the standard ones, so there's some feedback given, but it also determines a predictable frame, so there is some control, which because Claude Code gives gets a specific frame. A second pattern is the planning mode. So I said that there is a touch point before the execution. So you have also in Claude Code the planning mode. So you're having a thought experiment together with Claude, thinking through some code changes. What would be if we do it like this or we do it another way? So you can review the plan and eventually also approve it or further adjust it. For me as a human, this again gives me control. I can decide what the AI is doing, but I also can control what is actually implemented. And of course, we also need some explainability, so the reasoning that needs to be behind it. The third pattern is the granular accept and reject. So for every change, I can say, yes, please take it as is, or maybe also check other files and give some correction. And the good thing is, also in particular with Claude Code, I don't know how it is with you, but I get the impression I am capable of multitasking with it. So I'm often clicking yes, but I actually also can redo it. That's a good thing. So here for the human focus, I have control. Even if I, as a human, do something wrong, I can revert it. I can course correct in the middle. But, and here we also see some flaws of Claude Code. There's no cross-section memory. So if your token expires or if some other reasons that the session ends, your knowledge is apart from the context file is gone. So everything that you discussed before is gone. So it learns from our patterns, but only in a very limited way. And this can be decided by purpose also by Claude Code. So the pattern number 4 is this visibility in the thinking. So it shows us the reasoning, it shows the steps that it's doing, the files that it's looking at, and we can even request it to think, right? Think hard, think harder, ultra think, to really go in depth into the code. So it makes the mental mode visible. We again have the explainability. We can also correct some misunderstandings. So it gives us also safety. However, what we don't have is these uncertainty warnings. And we also know it from ChatGPT. They're very sure in what they're doing, but sometimes it's just off. It's not fitting to what they're supposed to do. So this is maybe a flaw that is still visible in Claude Code. So here, in general, Claude Code is doing a good job. How did Einstein become human-centric? So Einstein had a human AI gap in 2018 because it's more the traditional AI. So we have the black box machine learning. So the customer sees, or the user sees, okay, the customer is likely to churn with X%, but we do not really necessarily know. And the translation usually is also with SHEP values and LIME pretty difficult. Also, some developers are sometimes struggling. So there was no control, limited override capability, so the users can just ignore the recommendation. So if we are thinking about customer service, they just talk to the customer the way they were used to it before, not taking into account any of the solutions that were provided by the AI. And there's no direct feedback to the model behavior. So maybe if we have a model drift, some concept drift, data drift, it's not necessarily shown, and also recognizing it is not initiated by the user. And yeah, we doesn't have the override, cannot teach the model. And yeah, the users need to repeat the corrections. If something goes wrong, and if you don't get the feedback, they need to repeat the corrections all over. What happened in 2024 is that Einstein put on top the conversational layer. So the question stays the same. We have the traditional machine learning layer, and on top we put the conversational AI and an agent builder, which allows to have some customization. So this is the human AI interface. So in the end, we also see the explanation the user receives, which, as an example, gives additional reasons why the customer is about to churn. And we see it's not natively built as conversational AI, but here we add the layer, or they added the layer on top, which of course also comes with some complexity. So the question is now, okay, is all old ML, old AI in trouble? Does everyone now need to have this LLM layer? Because it seems that we as humans are also requesting it. And yeah, my most beloved answer, it depends. Of course, when there's, or maybe the very first one, I don't think that traditional machine learning is dead. And so not everything needs to be solved with an LLM, although sometimes we get the impression that everything is solved with it now. And as a second one, if the traditional ML needs now some conversational layer, it really depends if there's some human control and some human direct interaction needed, in particular also for decisions where the stakes are pretty high. So what do we do if we would build Einstein now today? So not adding this additional layer, because as I said, it comes along with some complexity, but building it from scratch. So of course, we should use some interpretable models, visible features, maybe also some confidence intervals, maybe also doing some AI literacy towards the users. So give the what-if calculations to the users so that they can see what's happening behind the scenes. Build some override feedback, so track the user behavior, and I don't mean just what does the user accept. Also, is there some thinking time for the user? Does the user override it several times? Are there some delays? What are the reasons? And we also made good experiences in showing the performance. How is your performance if you accept the AI recommendation, if you do not accept the AI recommendation? Just to create some transparency, because usually there's no awareness, because they also have their own mental models. And of course, we need some justification of the workflows. So here in particular, although it doesn't sound so super sexy, not everything needs to be model explanations. Usually the users only want the AI to integrate into the workflows that they already had before, so that they have the same context and the same words, so that they understand. So just as a conclusion, what happened between 2018 and 2025? Before, we had some output predictions from the traditional machine learning, and the humans adjusted. So you now get some AI insights, do something with it. Now what's happening is that we as humans also can put our requirements into place. It becomes more conversational, and also the AI needs to adjust to us. There needs to be some translation that is happening. In order to help, we can use the different patterns of human AI interaction. They, in the end, determine what are the human touch points and also what metrics we can measure. And I just also want to raise the point again that not every application needs an additional conversational layer on top to become more human AI designed, because also this comes with some complexity. Thank you very much.